So do you still get excited about the first day of practice?
28th season, and it seems like the first, you know what I mean? It just really excited. And, you know, we do what we do as a staff, take some time off, because when we get here, you can't be off and you can't be tired. I know some staffs have done a lot of stuff in the summer and, you know, more power to them, but all of us feel fresh and rejuvenated because as a program, today's August 1st, but we want to be going like this
Right.
all the way to December. But I don't know, there's something about this team, wise. I really like this team. You know, we just got to be humble, just keep working. But I like the chemistry, I like the work ethic, I like the talent. I mean, what does that mean? I don't know, but so far I like what I see.
I know you're a meticulous planner, and you probably spent the last few weeks putting all sorts of charts together and get everything organized. Is it kind of neat to be able to now put it into motion, the plan?
Well, I do take pride in being organized and being pretty detailed, but we're supposed to be inside the black fence. We've been there for the last 3 years. We stopped coming out here because the fields have been pretty bad, but I was just walking the other morning and I noticed that the fields are pretty good.
Right.
So so we came out here. We haven't been out here in 3 years, but so there's some last minute adjustments, and Brian Blick, our football ops guy, did a great job, and all the people, Demisi and the crew that lined the fields.
Right.
Because all of this stuff was last second.
Right. Because you were planning to be elsewhere. Right.
But yeah, you know, pretty much most of our stuff's planned. But we also got to adjust. You know, we got to see how our kids are doing, see how their legs are doing. You know, we're not playing today or tomorrow. We're not playing FAU today or tomorrow. We're playing on September 1st, you know, at 8 o'clock, you know, Friday night. And so that's when we got to be ready. So we just got to be smart as a staff, not to, you know, destroy our guys, you know, in the first week.
Well, I was just going to ask you, I think the first day in pads is Saturday, and I know there's restrictions. How do you treat these first few days this week? Is it more almost a time to reacclimate the returning players as to how you practice, introduce the newcomers and teach how Navy practices?
No doubt, Wags. It's all about culture, teaching the way we practice. You know, we got little things with our cones out there, running outside the cone, just small little things like that. Running to the football, having to tip up, you know, our effort level, just all those things that are a part of who we are. Yes, schematics are important, but for us, that's preeminent just to teach our culture. So the first really days in shorts, because you can't play football in shorts. I mean, it's not played in shorts, and so it's more of drills the first couple of days, getting in football shape. Our guys are in good running shape and lifting shape. You know, Coach Brass and the staff did a really good job, but now we got to get them in football shape. But we just got to build them up that way. We can't go crazy in the first week.
In terms of no more two-a-days, right?
No more 2 days.
Right. I mean, isn't it kind of odd? As recently as 5 or 6 years ago, you always had at least 2 or 3 two-a-days during August, but now those days are over.
Yeah, and we actually had less than everybody.
You
know what I mean? Even in those days, I might have done a couple, but everybody, you know, you got 29 practices, and a lot of guys use them all.
That's the number, 29?
29 practices, and so it hasn't been, you know, I've heard some guys talking about it's going to be an adjustment going to one-a-days, but we've been doing one-a-days for a long, long time. Just because I've always felt that this game is so physical and so grueling, and I think sometimes guys leave, you know, part of their fighting on the field, and we don't want that. We want to leave everything in our holster for the game. And so it hasn't been that big of an adjustment because we've been doing it for a while.
We talked about Jonah Lanusa leaving to play baseball. Is there any other returning varsity lettermen that have retired prior to the season that you can think of that of note?
Trayvon Clark. You know, so he's just a guy that's going to focus on his grades. He's going to help on some other capacities, but he's focusing on his grades. And so, yeah.
That's about it.
To this point, I think that's about it.
Did you have everyone pass their physicals and PRT? I know sometimes around this year you got guys that are not allowed to practice, no issues there.
Knock on wood, everybody passed. I don't know if that's a good sign or bad sign that we're long distance runners, but everybody passed. So I just feel really good where we're at. You know, we just got to be careful. It's still early August. You know, we don't play the game this Saturday. We don't play it. We played in 4 weeks. I mean, you know, in a whole month, and so we just got to be smart. Continue to prepare. And like I said, I like this team. I really like this team, and you know, we'll see what happens.
About the opener, Florida Atlantic is a little bit different now than maybe when this game was scheduled. With Lane Kiffin coming in, he brought in some transfers and new recruits and whatnot. Is this game suddenly loom as one that worries you, or does every game worry you?
There's no game that doesn't worry us. I mean, we're the Naval Academy. We're still smaller and slower than everybody else. You know, we're still get to drink one muscle milk or power milk or whatever we have per day, where other guys have cafeterias. And
Right.
so, you know we're at a deficiency, but that's who we are, and we're fine. Got great respect for Coach Kiffin, one of the best coaches in the country. You know, hired Kendall Browse, you know, a very renowned offensive coordinator from Baylor. He and his dad ran some of the best offenses in the country. You know, Blaine hired his brother and his dad. You know what I mean? Obviously, his
So
dad.
they got plenty of brain power.
Well, Monty Kiffin is one of the all-time defensive minds in the game.
Right.
Not just college football. I mean, he's in pros. There have been so many guys that have come from his tree defensively.
Right.
And so, you know, and they got really good athletes, you know, really good staff. And so we know it's going to be a tough battle that first game.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Obviously, taking care of football is our main goal for this season. We want to be great in the red zone, great on third down, obviously great on fourth down. But if we're taking care of the football the way we should, that'll take care of itself. And so we made one goal for the fall. And obviously, be penalties, number one in the country, and least penalized team. But the huge thing is taking care of football. And for me, really, you know, the A-backs, receivers, it comes out to the quarterback.
Right.
We got to reach the one guy. And my word for him this camp was confidence. You know, this spring he was kind of like a deer in the headlights look, you know, but he came in different look in his eyes. You know, so for him it's all confidence. In that first game, I want to go out there and be comfortable. So I think when he's comfortable, he's going to play fast. He's going to be a much better football player.
All right, that was my second question. How important is this August camp for Zach Abey? He's got to take control of this offense.
It's huge. I told him, you know, last night we talked about in the meeting, how do you get people to lead you, to play with you? Everybody say, you know, be vocal. I said, no, just get to know what's going on. So
Right.
if you're out there on the field, you can't get us in the right play, you're making the wrong checks, they're not going to follow you. You know,
Right.
so
Your
if you're out
teammates lose
there,
confidence.
if you're out there, you know what's going on, you're confident, they see that you know, they'll follow you anyway. You know, so the biggest thing is confidence. But the main deal also is knowing what's going on.
Would it be fair to say that you were a little disappointed that he didn't make that leap in the spring? I mean, I think you thought the spring would have been time for him to really take charge and show I'm the man, and he was a little up and down and inconsistent.
Yes, very inconsistent this spring, you know, but for me, my man, I look at that as the coach. You know, I didn't do a great job this spring, you know, so my focus this fall camp is making sure that he's ready, but also I got to make sure that Garrett's ready as well.
Right.
And Garrett's a pretty able football player, you know, and we have to have two guys, you know, so
Right.
I'm going to focus heavily on Zach at the same time. I got to make sure Garrett's ready as well.
I see that Garrett's got a brace on his leg. Is he full go? Is he no restrictions?
He's full go, you know, it's just wearing a brace as precaution.
Right, okay.
And he was having a good spring, you know, and obviously he got injured, you know, but other than that, he was having a great spring. There was a point during the spring I would have started him over Zach if we had played in the spring, you know, so I feel really good about both of those guys.
The other thing that I was looking at is wide receiver, losing Jameer.
Right.
No receiver on this team had more than 6 catches last year.
Right.
Basically, you don't know for sure who can catch the ball in a game pressure situation.
Well,
Would that be fair to say?
I think we know who can catch the football. Just a matter of now we're not so predictable. I think that's going to help us tremendously. You know, we have Carmona that can catch the football. Cologne can catch the football. All those guys can catch the ball. It's just a matter of now when we're out there, they don't know where we're going to go. Now, obviously, you know, Carmona's our blocking tight end. You know,
Right. I mean, he's not really a downfield threat.
know,
I mean,
but,
Jameer was a downfield.
But he caught a few balls downfield. You know, but what we do, if we're doing it right, any of our guys can be a downfield threat.
Right.
Because we're throwing play action. Hopefully, they're running wide open.
Right,
Doesn't matter catching the football. So. We're just more balanced right now, I think. You know, we don't have one guy that we're trying to get the football to. We have a stable of guys that want to get the football to, and it's going to help us.
But at fullback, High is a proven commodity, but behind him, there's not a lot of guys that have. Really, nobody has carried the ball. Is that another position where you got to develop some depth?
Exactly. B-back depth is going to be huge for us. You know, Josh Walker, this guy came over from A-back.
Right. I saw him out there.
He has all the physical tools.
Right.
Now it's just a matter of being able to do it. When we get the pads on, you know, is he going to be a physical runner? You know, everyone is good in shorts.
Right.
When we put the pads on, that's going to be the key. But again, Chris Hyde's definitely proven himself, you know, and Josh Walker's a guy that we're hoping that comes along.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Stress. Is there anything that you feel a little concerned about as a coach?
Well, you're concerned about all of them, to be honest with you.
Even Micah Thomas and DJ Palmore?
Well, you want to keep them healthy. You know,
Okay.
they've proven that they can play, and they've played in games. You know, we still have a lot of guys that have played some more than some years. But you know, it's a concern every year. It's a whole new, you know, guys can go up and guys can go down. They lose focus. So you know, you're always concerned going into camp. But you know, had a good first day, and we'll see from there.
One position that's very important for Navy in your 3-4 alignment is the nose guard. He's got to hold the point of attack, sometimes take on double teams. Pittman, he's kind of a guy that's going to have a little bit of a focus on him. And you know, you had Barney, who was such a reliable guy, and then I thought Forstall did a pretty good year last year.
Yeah.
Pittman, I don't know how much he played, but you know, we talked about
he
this.
Played a fair amount. I mean, you know, he probably kind of like Forstall was last year. I mean, I don't know that he's ever had to play really gassed, really tired. You know, he just needs to continue improving and growing up. But you know, physically, he could be as good as either of those two. I mean, he's strong like Bernie, and he's pretty nimble like Forstall. So he just needs to keep working. You know, he's got the physical tools to be a really good player.
Do you envision do you see him taking a lot of the reps, or do you think there's another nose guard and you could rotate?
I think there's a couple of other guys we can rotate in there. So, you know, we'll just see how spring goes. The nice thing is we have some big bodies to work with, you know, which is kind of a nice thing right now. You know, there were times we didn't even have those guys. So I think we got some bodies to work with. You know, it's hard to tell like today with no pads on, but they move around well, and they're, you know, they seem to know where they're going and what they're doing. So, you know, we're going to try to play a lot more people than we have in the past. You know, you know, when you get to 13, 14 games, you know, it takes its toll. So, you know, we'll try to play more guys. Anybody that, you know, can play will play. So.
An unexpected loss since we talked in the spring was Alohi Gilman.
Right.
And he was going to be one of your best returning defensive players of any position, but particularly in the secondary, a guy that could really anchor you. Can you talk about losing him and how you replace a guy like that?
Next.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's no different if he would have gotten hurt or, you know, you got to be ready to play the next guy. Again, I think we have some guys that'll step in there. Someone always does. We just got to make sure they're ready, and you know, there's nothing you can do about those things. So to be honest, I don't really worry about it much. I mean, it was his decision, and you know, we moved on, and we'll find somebody to play in there.
Well, I noticed that Jared Ryan, who'd been a cornerback, has been moved to safety. That looks like maybe one of the moves that has been done to try to compensate.
He played there some in the summer, so he could possibly move in there, but he's still at corner.
There he is.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So does that put more pressure on a guy like Sean Williams? Because really, with Gilman not coming back, your most experienced safety now is Sean Williams to be the kind of the quarterback back there.
Yeah, I mean, it puts some pressure on him, but you know, whoever takes that other spot, and there's got to be some backups. We found that out last year when we couldn't play with just two guys every game, every snap. So, you know, it'll be 4 or 5 guys have to come on if we're going to be successful. You know, we need 4 or 5 corners to come on if we're going to be successful. 3 deep at linebacker. We found that out last year. I mean, you know, you've got to. It's going to take more than 11.
Right.
So we'll just keep working all of them, and again, the ones that deserve to play will play, and we'll go from there.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.